Hey guys, Adam here. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I say it every time and I'm going to keep saying it. Thank you so much for being here. I'm always very grateful for hearing from people saying, hey, this has helped me understand fitness or helped me to reframe the way that I'm looking at my health, my faith, and my fitness. So I'm just very thankful for anybody who joins in and listens consistently. If you wouldn't mind, if you are listening regular, turn on automatic downloads on the podcast. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. That would be really great. Or leave a comment. Um, any type of engagement really helps us to get the message out because at the end of the day, we're trying to just help people of faith, pastors, leaders, or volunteers in the church just to take care of their health so they can keep doing what God's called them to do. At the end of the day, you need your health to do the thing God's called you to do. I know we all have faith. We know God's going to heal us when we need it. But I always tell people you shouldn't have to pray for a miracle that you could have avoided. You shouldn't have to pray for a miracle in your health that you could have avoided with some smart choices and not too difficult ones. So God's always faithful. He meets us where we are based on the information we have. So that's the goal, is to increase our information so we can continue, we can save those miracles for things that are extremely important, right? So anyway, let's dive in. I'm going to make this one short again, and I'm going to have some guests on soon, but we moved a few months back. It seems like we should have everything together, but we don't. Our life is still quite fluid. So my goal is to just be as consistent in posting to the podcast, posting content, and engaging with people who follow me or follow any of our stuff to the best of our ability. And that's going to be part of the subject matter today. When you listen to this, I will already have sent out an email that talks about consistency and framing some of those thoughts around consistency. I believe that the subject matter and habit of consistency is probably one of the most crucial to any type of progress in human life, just in general. So I'm going to kind of talk around that a little bit and try to do it quickly. So a little backstory for like most men, I tend to think about things when I'm trying not to think about things. So like I was in the shower and I'm just trying to relax and I had this thought come to me that consistency is more about thinking in minimums than it is in maximums. And let me explain. Most of us, especially in the West, we tend to think in maximums. How can I get the most out of this? How can I do the most? How can I get the best results? How can I do the best this or that? And we kind of go into these extremes. As Westerners, we're very intense with we want to do as little as we can, but get the most intensity out of it, right? A good example of this is in martial arts. I do martial arts. I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love fighting in general. Not like I'm a violent person, but I love the skill that it requires, the athleticism that these things require. And everybody has their things that they love, right? I just happen to be a dude and was coming up when I was in high school when the UFC came out, right? So I was very impressionable, you know. But a good example of this is if you look at the way most the varying differences between people in the West, let's say in America, and people in the East, who would be like, let's say, Russia, the way that they approach skill acquisition and when it comes to martial arts. We will do, like, hey, I'm going to go 3 days a week to my martial arts class or whatever I'm doing. I'm gonna train super hard. I'm gonna be super intense, and I'm gonna be so intense that it's gonna require me to rest for a few days afterwards. Um, but if you look at like more Soviet bloc Eastern training, they train every day, but they don't train super intensely all the time. They train at like 70%, where we train at like 110%. So their 70% over 5 days a week ends up adding up to more skill development than our 100% over 3 days. Because if you do it for years like that, you end up getting more with less injury, less fatigue, all this other stuff. So we're going to talk about thinking in minimums rather than maximums. So, but just to start off, I said this in the email, but Alex Hormozy, who's an entrepreneur, he's probably one of the most direct voices in kind of the entrepreneurial business space, and he has a lot of like little aphorisms and sayings and stuff, but he's very much a kind of philosophical thinker when it comes around just performance, building businesses, doing the best you can at whatever. And he says consistent beat inconsistent people, which is everybody, right? So what he's saying is people who are consistent will always beat inconsistent people, and most people are inconsistent. So you don't have to be extraordinary at something. You just need to be consistent because most people are going to fall off, right? So for example, this podcast, it doesn't perform great when it comes to overall downloads, right? Not like compared to Joe Rogan or any of the other guys, but we're in the top 50% of podcasts. Why? Because, okay, like I just keep posting. It doesn't matter. I've just been in it longer, right? It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter how good every episode is. It matters that I do a lot of episodes. Volume is king. Same thing when it comes to working out. There's another one in Proverbs. It says, many a man proclaims his own steadfast love, but a faithful man who can find? So what's saying there in Proverbs, a lot of people will say, I'm going to do this. I am this. I'm doing that. But who is the man who sticks to it? Who is the woman who sticks to what they say they're going to do? Right? So I'm going to try to give us some thoughts around how to stick to the thing we say we want to do. All right. So I'm entitling this Do Less, but Do It Daily. Okay. That's the name of this podcast. This podcast is going to be called Do Less, but Do It More Often. Okay. So most people burn out because they start with too much. They think in maximums. We already said, I'm going to train 6 days a week. I'm going to cut out all sugar, carbs, and happiness, right? I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and journal for an hour, right? We always have these intensities. Or like we want to be high performers. We see that on social media all the time. You got these yahoos who are being paid astronomical amounts of money to post up that they're waking up at 3:45 in the morning to go work out. No, you're not. Not regularly, you're not. You might do that once a week, but nobody who's doing really good is doing that, okay? So we tend to think in maximums, but really what we need to shift our mindset to is thinking in minimums. There's actually a term in, I think it's a medical term, but I use it in training, I use it in other areas, is for long-term success, you need to think in minimum effective dose. What is the smallest action, the smallest amount of thing I can do that still moves the needle in a significant way for me? The key is to make your approach and your habits so small that you can't fail, okay? And then you can stack wins over time. So I have people who tell me, look, I just can't work out like that. I just can't go to the gym 6 days a week. Nobody said you had to go to the gym 6 days a week. I did say you need to go for a walk from time to time. So we're thinking in minimums, not maximums. Here are some minimums that you could build your health around. For like nutrition minimums, here we go. Just try to get 30 grams of protein at breakfast. That's it. How about include 1 serving of real whole foods at each meal? How about drink 8 to 12 ounces of water first thing in the morning? How about just avoiding eating 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed? Small. Avoid drinking your calories. These are all minimum things to think about. So if we're trying to get the maximum gain out of things with the minimum amount. So do less, but do it daily, right? So rather than think, oh, I've got to get 200 grams of protein every day. That's a maximum. Don't think that way. Just think minimum. I need a minimum of 30 grams of protein per meal. Boom. That's it. All right. 30 grams of protein for you, for most people, is 100 to 125 grams of chicken breast. That's like a half a chicken breast. Okay. If you eat a whole chicken breast, it's like 50 grams. Okay. Um, 30 grams of protein at breakfast could be 4 whole eggs and 2 or 3 strips of turkey bacon. You're done. Okay. It could be 5 eggs. There you go. Got 30 grams of protein right there. So we don't have to think in maximums, think in minimums. What's the minimum I need to do to hit this goal? Okay. The goal was to move more, which it should be. Okay. Instead of thinking I need to work out 6 days a week or 5 days a week, what's the minimum I can do to get the best results? 2 workouts a week for basically 45 minutes. Okay. What would that look like? You would do your full body 2 times a week. You would do a pushing movement. You would do a pulling movement. Okay. Some type of squatting movement, and probably some type of picking up off the ground and carrying movement. So some type of farmer's carry, picking up a heavy dumbbell off the ground so that you're working that picking up movement, and then you're carrying it until you have to put it down, right? Don't think maximums, think minimums. What's another way to move more? Take a 10-minute walk after each meal. Minimum. Think minimum. Don't think I need to go run a marathon. That's going to motivate me. No, it's not. It's going to overwhelm you unless you're already running like that. You could also think minimum, I'm going to do 1 set of squats until my legs burn every day when I'm in the shower. You're going to take a shower. Okay. You're going to take a shower, right? So I do this every day. I'm going to tell you exactly what I do. I find something that I love that I'm going to do every day, and I try to stack something that I need to do and focus on top of it, but at a minimum dose. So I like to do jujitsu. Jujitsu requires me to be more mobile. It requires me, especially as I age, I'm 48 now, and I work out pretty regularly. So I do get stiff because I'm not easy on my body, but I also train at full ranges of motion so that I am still quite flexible for my age and my size. But it's still not quite enough to mimic being on the ground and like moving around kind of monkey-like in a way, for lack of a better term. So what do? I know I need to focus on mobility. I know I need to focus on being on the ground more because I can only train jujitsu. I train a minimum amount right now, only 1 to 2 times a week. It's enough to keep me moving forward, but it's not enough to keep my movement pattern. So what do? Well, I know for a fact that I am going to drink coffee every single day of my life. Okay. Um, and the more evidence that comes out showing that coffee is good for you, the more I'm never going to stop drinking it. Okay. As a matter of fact, here we go. But sorry for the slurping sounds. I'm sure you didn't tune in for the ASMR version of this. But so I know that I'm going to drink coffee every day. I'm going to wake up, my coffee pot's right there. I'm going to wake up every day around 6 o'clock, depending on the day, and I'm going to go to the restroom and I'm going to walk over, be dressed, and I'm going to walk over to that coffee pot and I'm going to make coffee. And it's going to brew. It's going to take about 6 minutes for it to brew. Okay. So what do? I know that's going to happen without fail. So rather than standing around watching it brew, I take that 6 minutes and I stretch on the ground. I have a carpeted space where it's easy, doesn't hurt me to like, I'm not sitting on hardwood floors, and I move around on the ground. I'm tired. I'm not moving great. The dog is jumping on me, interrupting me. But the point is I'm going to do a minimum amount of movement on the ground, going to stretch, going to kind of walk on all fours, roll around a little bit. Like it sounds funny, but I'm mimicking what I do in jujitsu just so that I can feel better. So if my legs are really tight, my back is tight, I'll just stretch, do like some kind of yoga poses, which I hate yoga, but sometimes it works. So I'm going to do 5 to 6 minutes every day. I did it this morning. I did it the day before. I've done it for the last 10 or 15 days in a row. Okay. Do I see exponential growth? Do I get sore? Nope. But I keep clicking that 5 to 6 minutes. And if I do that for a year, you better believe that I am going to move incredibly well by the end of the year. Okay? I'm stacking a minimum effective dose of movement on the ground on top of a habit I know I'm going to do. That's why I'm saying, like, if you know you're going to take a shower, do squats in the shower. Just do them. You're already, if you start sweating in the shower, you just clean off. You're fine, right? Do one set to where you're like, oh, I've got to stop. Now, don't slip and fall, you know, all rights reserved to not be sued, okay? Minimum effective dose. What is a minimum effective dose you need for sleep? You probably need somewhere between at least a minimum of 7 hours a night. So let's set a bedtime that's pretty easy for you to hit, even on weekends. Maybe it's you sleep from 11 to 6 a.m. Okay? 11 p.m. is a pretty good time. Most people are winding down around that time, and most people are trying to wake up around early morning, right? So you can do that even on weekends, and if you have more time, you can sleep a little bit more on the weekend, right? But a minimum amount, instead of saying, hey, I got to get 9 hours, so I need to go to bed at 9 and wake up at, 5, don't do that. Do a minimum. I need a minimum of 7 hours. Okay. Another one is for your sleep. Another one might be, hey, I'm going to make sure that as soon as I wake up, I'm going to get 5 to 10 minutes of direct sunlight in my eyes. Why? Because morning sunlight helps set your sleep schedule internally. It helps set your circadian rhythm. So people who tend to become night owls and then sleep later into the morning, into the mid morning, that becomes more difficult to break because you're not getting morning light. Okay. But minimums for movement are, hey, work out 2 times a week. Uh, Maybe walk 10 minutes after each meal, 5 minutes after each meal. Minimums for recovery, sleep a minimum of 7 hours. Try to cut your screens off 30 minutes before you go to bed. One good one is just take the TV out of your room. Don't put a TV in your bedroom. Okay, that's a great one. Here's some other, maybe for your faith. I'm going to spend 5 to 10 minutes in my Bible in the morning. I'm not going to try to read an hour. If I get an hour, great. But I'm going to do a minimum of 5 to 10 minutes. Minimum is one chapter. Doesn't matter the chapter. Could be a book chapter in Proverbs, could be Psalms, could be, right now I'm in the book of Acts. I'm going to read one chapter. Okay? That's it. Now, if I get into it, I feel like the Lord's showing me something. Yeah, I'll take more time, but I'm going to do a minimum. Okay? How about taking one deep breath to focus and be thankful at each meal? Minimum. You want to practice gratitude? Okay. Take one deep breath when you sit down. You know you're going to eat 2 to 3 times a day. So you can take 1 minute, take a deep breath, and thank God for your food. Boom. Gratitude. You do that twice a day for a year, you have over 700 times that you've prayed in a year. Okay? Like you see like the exponential benefit of this. How about speaking one kind word? Speaking an intentionally kind word to someone each day, right? Perfect. One, I'm going to kiss my wife once a day, right? On the mouth. Make sure you do that, okay? Think in terms of minimums. Um, I can't stress this enough because I have so many people who will talk to me and they'll say, well, I can't do this, right? But I'll say, okay, you can't work out 5 days a week, but you probably spend an hour a day scrolling on your phone. What if we said, I can do 30 minutes of walking, think minimums. I can walk for 10 minutes. I can read one chapter. I can read a book for 10 minutes. Like minimums. Don't think maximums, think minimums. Because at the end of the day, compounding interest is a thing. There's a reason why Warren Buffett is one of the richest men in the world. And it's not because he's one of the best traders, like stock traders in the world. The reason why he's so rich is because he's marginally successful. Like he's successful, but he's not like incredibly successful at it. He's not the best trader there's ever been. He's the guy who's been trading the longest. He's been trading since he was like 10 years old. He's been trading stocks since he was like 10. He's been investing since he was 10. So it's not how successful he's been in any one particular trade. It's how long he's done the minimum. He's just done it longer than everybody. Compounding interest is a force of nature, right? So if I move around on the ground or stretch for the 5 minutes that coffee is brewing, and I'm going to do that every day for the next however long I'm going to live, then I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be extremely mobile, more mobile than almost anybody else in my age bracket. Not because I did more, not because I went harder and was better and stronger, it's because I just did it more often. That's it. Okay? Here we go. So, what do these minimums build? These minimums aren't just about results, they're about identity as well. Because every time I do something that I need to do, for me, I'm casting a vote according to James Clear in Atomic Habits. I'm casting a vote for becoming that person. Okay? You're someone who moves with purpose. That's an identity purpose, right? You're someone who leads their family with strength, identity. You're someone who reads the Bible daily, identity. Okay? All these things are super important when it comes to creating identity around who you are and where you're going. I was recording a podcast. Thanks. 23 minutes in.
That's where you edit.
Yeah, I don't edit it though.
That's where you get a shot of like the.
Like a B-roll shot? Do a B-roll shot? Hang on. Come back through with your shirt up so I can do the B-roll shot.
I'm not gonna lie, I would watch you if you added humor.
I do add humor,
No, I mean like.
but not that kind of humor. Not slapstick. I don't do that.
Like, hey, I've been working with my friend Dan. Look at all his games. Like, I would totally. That's the only thing online I'd be willing to do.
Oh, Lord.
People would love it.
They would.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, dude.
Dang it.
Seriously. You're okay. I'll edit it out. You're good. No, don't feel horrible. I was like, hey, you're leaving? No, that would be even better though. Okay. A little slapstick. Yeah, let's go. All right. Y'all be safe. Yes. I'll get it. I'll take care of it. All right, later. So what do these minimums actually help us build? Okay. What they build is they help build identity. According to James Clear in Atomic Habits, every time we do an action that helps improve us, we're casting a vote for becoming that type of person. And I talk about this in my coaching quite a bit because without an identity shift, it's going to be very difficult to stay the person that you want to become, right? So this is where most people fail when it comes to diet, exercise, and even their faith to some extent, is they think that doing a thing once or twice and getting a result is all you need. But really, what you need is to do a thing regularly to become the kind of person who that kind of thing happens for. So, for instance, I personally can get away with eating maybe less than healthy foods for an extended amount of time. Why? Because I've spent so much time controlling my diet, exercising regularly, and voting for the kind of person who is fit that I have just so much margin built up. I can't do it forever, but I've done it for so long. I've lived this way for so long that it's just part of who I am now. It's very difficult for me to get off track and stay off track because it's just not who I am. I'm not that person, right? So these small thinking in minimums, doing less but doing it daily creates identity. Okay, so you become the kind of person who moves on purpose. You become the kind of person who leads their family. I am the kind of person who leads my family with faith and strength, physical and spiritual. Okay, I am the kind of person who walks in wisdom and not in reaction, right? So that could be thinking in minimums. I'm going to, before I respond to a situation, I'm going to take 30 seconds to control my breathing and think about what I'm going to say. Minimums. I'm going to take a deep breath before I respond to my kid, right? So maybe maybe your kid's being sassy or talking back or whatever, or just not doing what you say, rather than bam, just ripping one out on them. You know what I'm saying? Rather just you immediately start becoming the kind of person who controls their reactions, who manages their emotions, right? You're someone who's consistent even when life is chaotic, right? So these are the types of identities we're looking for. Minimums, doing less, but doing it daily will start to create an identity of the kind of person you want to become. So decide which of these attributes you're trying to focus on. Are you trying to focus on your faith, your fitness, your gratitude, your mental clarity, your emotional regulation? That's a big one. It's really hard for your kids to act right if you don't know how to regulate your own emotions. So maybe it's there. Maybe we're working on gratitude. Maybe we're working on staying calm. Whatever it is, okay? Think minimums, not maximums, right? I did this for a long time with working out, where I always wanted to get the most gains I could, so I programmed my workouts to literally push the line all the time, and I was just exhausted all the time. So recently, since I turned 45 and up, I've started thinking more in minimums. What's the least amount I can do and still make progress, right? Because I'm not winning any respect by doing more than needed. I'm not winning, I'm not getting more gains. I'm just getting more fatigue and more injury risk. So, thinking in minimum, what's the least amount of work I can do in the gym to still see progress and minimize risk, fatigue, and just total time spent, right? So, minimum effective dose, right? So, just a closing thought. You don't need to do everything all at once, but you just need to do something minimally, but do it daily. Okay, do it often. All right. For instance, there's a guy on social media. His name is Nathaniel. I forget his last name, Nathaniel, but he's a guy that walks on his hands. He did walking on all fours. He's walked on all fours for at least 5 minutes a day for like 3 years straight. And he went from looking like somebody who could barely move around on the ground to where like now he looks like a primate. The way he moves so well, and he does jujitsu. So he's been super consistent at this, and it's changed his body. His body has gotten bigger and better in shape. His mobility's gotten better. So he's doing a minimum amount, but doing it daily, and it's changed his life. So minimum, do less, but do it daily. That's where real change happens, okay? This is how your foundation for the identity you're trying to create gets built, right? And we're going to talk more about this. I talked about this a bit of identity and stuff in my last podcast of having a vision for your health. This can go along with that as well. So here's a big key. What's the smallest action I can take? So small that I can't fail, but I can do it repeatedly without failing. What's the smallest action I can take? All right. Then identify that action and start. All right. But set it up to where the change is not exponentially different than what you're already doing, right? You're going to eat every day, make a small change to make each meal look a little bit better than the meal before for your health. Focus on protein, some good veggies, maybe a small starch. Okay, start shifting that. If you're not sure how to do that, just try to get 30 grams of protein at each meal, right? If you want to be more flexible, stretch while the coffee's brewing. If you want to be more flexible, you want to get more steps in, when you take your phone calls, go for a walk. Take them on, pace around while you walk or while you talk. Okay, super basic stuff, but make it so small you can't fail. Okay, consistent people will inevitably beat inconsistent people, and most people are inconsistent. So you don't have to be unique and spectacular. You just need to keep showing up. All right. So thank you so much. Hopefully that encourages you today, and I really hope it blesses you. Have a great day. What's your minimums? Shoot me an email. Give me a comment on whatever platform you're watching this on. and let me know what are your minimums, what you're doing, and then if you have questions, just drop them in there. We'll do what we can to answer them. Have a great day.